Whether you're from Montreal, Quebec, Chicago, Illinois, or even Gothenburg, Sweden, we welcome you to the StreetScout podcast. I'm your host, Fred. I'm so excited today to present to you my top 32 for the 2025 NHL draft that will take place in a few days in LA. Doing the episode for the first time entirely in English, so quickly in French. Mon top 32 cette année sera entièrement en anglais. Soyez sans crainte que nos épisodes subséquents seront bien sûr en français. This being said, if you're new to StreetScout, we launched the podcast last year and cover players eligible to be drafted in the upcoming year from all around the world. We've also done interviews that we shared in the past with some high-level prospects, including Sam Dickinson, Beckett Seneca, Henry Muse, and this year with Porter Marton, who will likely go in the top 5. Our episodes are available on Spotify, and we also have some exclusive content on Patreon. Feel free to check it out. It's always very appreciated. Now, I'm very happy to present you my top 32 today. This year is one of the weirdest yet most fascinating drafts we've seen lately. I hear a lot of people saying it's a bad one. It depends. It depends on what you're looking at, and I'll explain what I mean later on. Brass and Brab from StreetScout have already presented their own list a few weeks ago. If you haven't had the chance, it's a really good listen. It's possible our lists differ though, because of several factors. Obviously, certain elements from players might attract us more, but generally speaking, I have a tendency of aiming for a higher upside than a certainty, while maintaining a balance. So if you're in a simulated hockey league and have several first-round picks, you may opt to take some risk and go for those kind of players. In my mind, this year's draft has a consensus top 2, followed by a group of, let's say, 5-6 forwards that are quite difficult to rank and predict where they're gonna come out. I also haven't ranked any goalies. It is possible that one gets drafted in the first round, whether it be Ravensburgen, Andreanov, or another one. It's just quite difficult to rank goalies at that age. My list is also not a mock draft. It's really more how I perceive the value of the players. So without further ado, let's jump into it, shall we? At number 32, I have Mason West. Bit of a dark horse here, but what a stud. Absolutely possible that he gets drafted in the second round because there's a risk. We're looking here at a 6'6", 218 pounds forward who, listen to this, was playing last year both hockey and quarterback in football in high school in the States. He's got a great vision, good mobility. He owns his body. Sometimes kids that tall at that age still need to gain muscle. So on the ice, it shows. It wasn't the case for West. His body gives him a physical edge to create space in front of the net. His skating and his hands are smooth. He's agile, displays impressive puck handling through traffic. His reach also allows him to catch up to opponents and create turnovers. He finished with 49 points in 31 games before jumping into the USHL, where he recorded 9 points in 10 games. This is, for me, a major factor why I'm ranking him so high. As I said, I like to take risks to value the upside more. And here we've got an athlete who, on top of it, is born in August. So he's not 18 yet, very young. At this size, not I will be fully committed to hockey. I think it could be a really nice project. Well, he's going to play one last season, actually, of football in the fall, but then he's going to head to Fargo in the USHL. He does believe that, once he focuses on only one sport, so hockey, he'll be much better. He'll be joining Michigan State in 2026. For fun, I looked on Dubber. Dubber is a really good source for prospects, and they have this ranking out of 10. His upside is 8.5, and his NHL certainty is a very low 3. I don't remember seeing such a big dichotomy. I was looking at my list last year, and kind of funny actually, because I had at number 32 Jesse Pulkkinen, who also happened to be 6'6", 219 pounds. Maybe it's a new trend I'll have to have the biggest guy of the draft at 32. Number 31, I have Sasha Boumedian. Boumedian is a left-handed defenseman, 6'2", 183, from Sweden. Actually, he was born in Sweden, but he's been playing hockey in the States for the past 4 years because his father, Joseph Boumedian, was promoted back then to be the director of pro scouting with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hence why he's been playing for the past few years in Ohio. Well, he's played a few years in Ohio, I should say, because he doesn't play there, obviously, anymore. Mr. Roller Coaster. What I mean by that is he started the year as a top prospect defenseman. But then his Linka Gretzky was very underwhelming. No points in 5 games, was creating a lot of turnovers, was really bad defensively. There's no other way to say it. For a player back then who was perceived to be a top 10. He then didn't stand out much with Boston University until Christmas, I'd say, where he started to play with Tom Willander. Tom Willander, right-handed defenseman who was drafted 11th in 2023 by the Canucks and who happens to be also Swedish. So it was easier for Boumedian to communicate with. And, you know, it might have helped him a lot with his game. After that, his physical play started showing a bit more, as well as his offensive punch, as if feeling more defensively confident helped him open his wings. The Beanpot was really when he stood out the most, followed by his U18, where he even broke the record for most assists and points by a defenseman with 13 assists and 14 points in 7 games. So overall, I'd say he has a strong skating ability, puck carrying skills, and offensive capabilities from the blue line. But he will need to improve his defensive play as well as his decision making with the puck. At number 30, I have Cameron Schmidt. I liked him quite a lot at Linka Gretzky, but he's not big at 5'7", 157 pounds. But he's got a really good shot, is a great scorer, scored 40 goals in 61 games with the Giants in the Western Hockey League, had 4 goals and 9 points in 5 games in the playoffs. His shot can be unpredictable. He's smart enough to time himself properly to get to the net, to get rebounds, because obviously physically he can just wait there. I like that he's not afraid to battle even after blown whistles. He doesn't get pushed around. One reason why he's still in my top 32, even though his size, is because he's so good at avoiding contact. He dropped in my list simply because I have other players I liked, sometimes as much, but were bigger. I didn't find him outstanding at the U18. Gave me some doubts. And size-wise, even Cole Caulfield was better. Better. It was bigger when he got drafted. Same height, but 163 pounds, just to give you an idea here. Still, he represents a really good offensive prospect, and that's why I have him at the end of my first round. Number 29, Adam Benak. I debated a lot at keeping the check in my top 32. Highly possible he doesn't get his name called in the first 2 rounds. But I really like the offensive upside of this guy. Why do I think he's going to fall in the draft? Well, first off, Adam Benak is very tiny, only 5'7", 163 pounds. Very similar to Schmidt, actually. You'll have guessed that physicality is not part of his game, although he can be fearless. But offensively, he's beautiful to look at. The hands on this player, his ability to make amazing passes to his teammates, really fast, actually elite skater, amazing dangler, super strong hockey IQ. He's an offensive-minded player who excels in creating scoring chances. That's who he is. I was talking earlier about Mason West Dauber's ratings, and I actually fell on some crazier numbers here with Benak, with an upside of 8 and an NHL certainty of 2.5. That tells a lot of the high risk, high reward player that we have here. Number 28, I have Cole McKinney, center for the US NTDP, 6 foot tall, 201 pounds. So great shape, 61 points in 60 games and added 5 and 7 at the U18. It was not a great year for the US program, combination of circumstances. For McKinney, he's a great two-way center with a detail-oriented style, great speed, good decision-making, not an exceptional player, but a dog. He's a mature professional player, can do everything good, not elite, but good, can cover his zone, is responsible in 3 zones, lacked a bit of consistency. I wouldn't say he's a threat generator per se, but he's got a good IQ. In the second half of the year, he had more playing time with better players, so we saw a good progression within his play. And he has committed to the University of Michigan for next season. Number 27, Logan Hensler. I know a lot of people have him more around the 17th rank. Personally, there's a few elements of his game that displeased me. Right-handed defenseman, 6'2", 196 pounds, born October 14th, so he's a late. 27 points in 32 games with Wisconsin this year, added 1 assist in 7 games at the World Juniors. He's a mobile defenseman with some interesting tools. Great skating ability, good hands, even a great shot, can carry the puck. Still has a few issues defensively, covering his lanes and his decision making. I just can't find an element where he's absolutely excellent. Wisconsin was in a very strong program this year, though. They finished second to last within the Big Ten Conference. I think his skating and his overall attributes are enough to think of him as an NHL level prospect, but more as a third pair compared to others I have in front of him who I believe might have a top 4 ceiling. Number 26, I have Blake Fiddler. Perfect size for a defenseman, right-handed as well. 6'4", 209, smooth, mobile, and defensively solid. He's an American, but played into the WHL this year with the Edmonton Oil Kings. Offensively, he's not fantastic, though. Not much caught my eye. 33 points in 64 games and only 1 assist in 7 playoff games. But good skating, good explosiveness, good first pass, very simple decision making, good reach with his stick. He's not going to try to force a play. He does have some areas to clean up in his game in order to develop to the next level. But if he does, he could be a great defensive defenseman on second pair. And it's also important to know that he's still 17 as he's born on July 9th. His dad, Vernon Fiddler, some of you might recognize the name, he played in the NHL, retiring around 10 years ago. Number 25, I have Malcolm Spence. Spence is the second oldest player eligible in the 2025 draft. Aitchison just edges him by 1 day. Left wing, 6'2", 201, had a great season with the Erie Oilers. That's the same team as Matthew Schaefer. 73 points in 65 games, 9-9 in the playoffs. physically ready to play pro, plays a well-rounded, strong game. He's not offensively flashy though. That's probably why I have him so low. But he loves to hit everyone he can. He plays in opponents' heads. He's been very constant for the past 2 years, which is good. But at the same time, I don't think that he's had an incredible progress. For him, I think it's easy to project him anywhere in like a middle bottom six and like a really good one. But his lack of offensive wow factor doesn't convince me to project him in 4 years really high. He has committed to the University of Michigan next season. Number 24, I have Milton Gastrin. He was captain of Team Sweden at the Linka Gretzky, 42 points in 40 games at the J20 in Sweden. Really smart, super solid defensively, and helps his defensemen and wingers. Maybe one of the best defensive forwards of the draft. 6'1", 185. He can play center or on the wing and could be used up and down the lineup. Will find a way to contribute. His strength is his brain. Not a fantastic shot, but a really good fit for a third line. I don't think his ceiling is really high, but a team drafting in this range, looking for a player who could join their team, might be tempted by a safe player like him. Number 23, I have Vaclav Nestrasil. I probably have him higher than most. He's huge, all right? 6'6", but he absolutely needs to add weight, as he's currently listed at 185. For a guy this tall, it's really not much. So he's raw, but he's a fluid skater with slick puck skills. He played this year with the Muskegon Lumberjacks in the USHL, same team Sacha Boisvert played with last year, and Ivan Ryabkin this year, whom you might have heard of, but will not be in my top 32. As I said, really agile on the ice for his size, smooth hands. I've seen him do moves with the puck and excited me a lot. Good underutilized wrist shot. He's good at using his long reach to keep control and protect the puck. He's had a great progress this year in the second part of the year. His profile reminds me a bit of Ilya Protas last year. Big guy as well. E2 was playing in the USHL. 51 points in 61 games Protas had with the Buccaneers, compared to 42 in as many games for Nestrasil, but followed by 14 in the playoffs in 13 games, which is really good. Protas ended up getting drafted in the third round by the Caps before exploding this season in the UHL with 124 points, just behind Misa. He didn't have a booming offensive game in his draft here, which might have caused some teams to overlook him in earlier rounds. But if we were to do a 2024 redraft now, he would for sure come out in the top 20. So could Nestrasil do something similar next year, to the point that drafting him, let's say here, or 2023, like I have him here, could that be considered a steal? It's totally possible. He had a really strong second half, as I mentioned, showing great progress. Fun fact, he has a much older brother who has played in the league, but is now 34 years old. Number 22, Jackson Smith. Good size, left-handed defenseman from the Tri-City Americans. Great stats throughout the year. 54 points in 68 games, 3-5 in the playoffs, and 5-7 at the U18. I've seen some rank him as high as the second best left-handed defenseman. That's fair. Honestly, I might not be as high as others on him. Offensively, he's really good. He's got a great potential there. He skates well, really good at carrying the puck as well. He's very creative, good at finding and making up passing lanes. He also can be physical. Defensively, though, I find he often has brain farts. He commits mistakes he could absolutely avoid, doesn't pay enough attention. He's not safe in his zone. He could play in the NHL and have a great career, but right now, it might be a bit of extreme. But some aspects of his risk slash offensive contribution ratio reminds me. It reminds me a bit of Evan Bouchard. He has committed to Penn State for next season. There are rumors that Gavin McKenna could join Penn State next year, so we'll see. He's one of the players that I could look back after this draft and tell myself I should have ranked him higher. It's possible. Number 21, Cameron Reed, left-handed defenseman of 6 foot, 174 pounds, playing for the Kitchener Rangers in the OHL. Finished with 54 points in 67 games, 5 points in 14 playoff games. He's a very mobile defenseman. I heard his style being compared to Lane Hudson. He is really good to carry the puck from one end to the next, excels at transition, but isn't the biggest defenseman, obviously. So if we compare Hudson to him, they both take advantage of their great skating and agility. Reed, like Hudson, uses edge work and evasive skating to open up lane. They're both very creative offensively, always very comfortable joining the rush and creating plays from the blue line. And they also both use smart head fakes, shoulder drops, and misdirection to manipulate for checkers. Where they do differ is that Reed doesn't have the same elite vision. He's not as dynamic offensively. He's also more, I'd say, conservative. He's not as risky. At the same age, I'd say Reed might be better defensively, more polished. He positioned his stick and his body well, especially in the PK. He's quite well balanced defensively and defensively, He's a good QB on the blue line, was assistant captain in Kitchener. Not a bad shot, can play physical and hit. Maybe not a first pair defenseman, but I could see him on a second pair for sure. Number 20, Bill Zonon. My first of 3 players from the queue. What stands out the most about Zonon is compete level. Started the year left wing, 6'2", 190 pounds, 83 points in 64 regular season games, added 16 in 13 in the playoffs. Very good stats. A big and versatile forward who can play on the wing or center. He made a strong transition from wing to center this year, actually, taking on major defensive and special teams responsibilities. He handled over 1,000 faceoffs, which shows trust from his coaches, but his win rate around 45% indicates that it's a clear area for development as he moves towards higher level of play. For fun, I looked it up, see if 45% is really that bad for a player's age. And it's not elite in any way, but it's within the average. Around 45% is quite common. Many prospects aren't known for face-offs until college or pro leagues where they refine technique and strength. So I wouldn't say that's a concern, especially for a guy who just switched position. He's actually still listed as a winger on Elite Prospects, but until he's primarily used as a center over multiple seasons, they'll retain left wing as his main position. He's good defensively, good with pressure, good stick and body positioning, very intense, play physically. So there's a lot to like about him. Number 19, Justin Carbonneau. He's one of the most offensive skilled players in the draft. Amazing hockey shape, 6'1", 192. He's a power forward, great skating. He loves to hit to finish his plays. Top 3 shot in this draft. Generated this year 5 grade A scoring chances per game. I'll go a bit more in depth with this. Grade A chances are advanced stats, basically meaning he's not just putting up numbers, he's creating real danger. It's one of the best and indicators of offensive threat level. That stat comes from neutral zone and NHL scout level tracking, so it's not public box scores. Most top Quebec Maritimes junior hockey league forwards generate between 2.5 and 3.5 grade A chances per game. Among draft eligible players, he's first, ahead of Misa's 4.3 and Schaefer's 3.8. So according to this, he's contributing to creating one chance every period or so. He's really good at using defensemen as screens to score his goals. I mean, let's face it, he scored 46 goals this year, which is second in the whole CHL for draft eligible players, only behind Misa. His 89 points are first among players from the queue, in front of Desnoyers, which, surprise, I have ranked in the top 10. So why isn't it Carbonneau higher on my list? Brass even didn't put him in his top 32. Why? His problem is a bit in regards to his intensity, as in sometimes too much. I've seen several moments when opposing teams would get in his head and force him to commit bad penalties. And to me, that screamed a bit of a lack of composure and maturity. He definitely has the potential to play on the top 6 in the NHL. I have my doubts regarding his intensity, his two-way game. I actually don't like his defensive game. I find him slow to come back. His work ethic towards the neutral zone and defensive zones aren't up to what I would hope. It's a bit of a double-edged knife here. I was supposed to do an interview actually with him, but our schedules didn't align. I still do believe that if he's available at 16, 17, where the Canadiens draft, it could be a really good pick for Montreal. At number 18, I have Colin Potter. The fastest skater of this draft, it's unmatched. His balance and edge work are both off the charts. Left wing, who started the year with the NTDP and then aligned with Arizona State University in the NCAA, which made him one of the youngest players in that league this year. Nonetheless, still showed poise with the puck, even considering his age and size. He's 5'10", 172 pounds. He finished the year with 22 points in 35 games, which is quite good, again, considering the age level. Added 8 points in 7 games at the U18. He's got strong offensive instincts and playmaking skills, effective in transition play, good hockey IQ, and ability to read the game, create space well for teammates, able to absorb hits, he had a good progression after Christmas. And as I said, high-end skating ability with great acceleration. He's a bit different than what Oliver Moore was in 2023 when he was drafted, actually around the same range here. Moore was also labeled as the fastest skater of his draft, but he was better defensively. Potter's two-way game still needs to be polished. He can sometimes try to do too much individually with the puck, occasionally forces plays. And obviously, I gave you his measurements. He still needs to add more strength and muscle to his game. That's the biggest concern for him. Number 17, Lyndon Lakovic, pronounced Lakovic, actually. That's how he pronounces it. Left-handed forward, 6'4", 190 pounds. Got a great offensive talent. 58 points in 47 games with Moose Jaw this year. Minus 25, which I'm not a big fan of, but when you look at his old team, it's actually really not that bad. The second best player on his team finished at minus 52, so that gives you an idea. He led his old team in goals, points, and shots, and was named captain as well of the Warriors in February. Really good skater. His biggest strength is his shot, a shot that could go in the top 10. He's got the size, but even himself recognizes lack of intensity, something he will work on. I have guys ahead of him that are much smaller, but who I find contribute much more physically in a game. He doesn't battle much for pucks, doesn't go where it pays, doesn't hit nearly as much as a guy with his shape could. I do not disagree with the Kirby Dach comparison on that level. So he's not a power forward. Doesn't mean he couldn't become one. During the combine, he brought something up that I found interesting, mentioning how Alexei Protas from the Caps took years to develop his roughing style. Not necessarily, again, to compare both here, but just to give perspective. He's also an older prospect born in December. Where does his potential land? I'd say anywhere between a Kirby Dach and a Tage Thompson. It's that wide. Number 16, Kashan Aitchison. So yes, this guy is the biggest hitter of the draft. Well, let's say defenseman. And he contributes everywhere, offensively, defensively, and physically. Let's start with physically, because that's where he really differentiates himself. He's a truck. He's mean, and he loves to hit. Number of hits, unfortunately, are not calculated in the Ontario Hockey League like it is in the NHL, but penalties are. He went from 126 penalty minutes in 2024, which was second, by the way, in the league by only 2 minutes, to 88 minutes this year, showing his improved timing and discipline using stick positioning and smarter gap control rather than chasing hits. He's a playoff type defenseman who hits, is hard to play against, is in your face, bothers you, can get under your skin. Defensively, he's got a good stick, doesn't complicate his game, really efficient, a conservative style. He's good at breaking down passing lanes, shutting down opportunities. Good first pass. Offensively, he did really good this year. 26 goals, 59 points in 64 games, third among OHL defensemen. Finished second, only behind Dickinson in the playoffs among all OHL Ds, notching 6 goals and 6 assists over 16 games. Good one-timer. I've seen a few flashes from him taking risk in the offensive zone. You need to improve his foot speed, but one thing that I'd like to note is, although he's the oldest eligible player in the 2025 draft, his offensive game saw some nice growth throughout the year. Is it something that he'll be able to bring to the next level? Hard to say, but whether he'll be a second or a third pair defenseman, he'll make a team very happy. Number 15, Cole Reshny. 5'10", 187 pounds, center for the Victoria Royals in the WHL. What a season he's had stats-wise. 92 points in 62 games. He led the WHL in assists per game among draft-eligible players with 66, followed by a crazy 25 points in 11 games in the playoffs, and 8 in 5 games at the U18. Versatile player who played on both special units. He's a cerebral, high IQ forward with excellent playmaking skills and spatial awareness. Can play intense, has a great shot, very smart. He's a wizard with the puck, super quick hands. I liked how he's progressed all year. Obviously, as I stated, his playoff and U18 were amazing. Yes, stats wise, but in his overall game as well. He can adapt well to his opponents defensively. Um, like Max Domi, he has type 1 diabetes, but did not let that become a barrier to pursuing a professional hockey career. He will transfer next season to the NCAA with North Dakota. Number 14, Benjamin Kindle. Small right winger from the Calgary Hitmen, 5'10, 181 pounds. But wow, his stats this year: 99 points in 65 games, the most points among all draft eligible players in the WHL. I didn't have him really high at the beginning of the season. I mean, he did take part in the Linka Gretzky, but only recorded 2 points and had limited ice time. He's not the biggest, as I mentioned, right now, but I would not let that be a factor in not selecting him that early. Really quick hands, really smart, fast player, effective in neutral zone. He's been compared to Wyatt Johnson of the Stars in terms of his defensive play. Obviously, had 64 assists, so really high passing skills. I did find him intense, able to battle in front of the net, really good defensively, but would need to gain muscle in his puck retrieval battles. Could be an interesting player anywhere in the lineup, although on the fourth line, he wouldn't bring you a physical aspect. Fun fact, he comes from a really professional soccer family. His dad played for the Vancouver Whitecaps. His mom has played for at the World Cup, and even his sister plays in a really good program. It's interesting, and at the same time, if you pay attention, you can see some soccer features in this game. Number 13, Braden Cooch, the captain. 6 foot tall, 183 pounds, center for the Seattle Thunderbirds, for which he was captain. He also was for Team Canada, the last U18. Seattle was not strong offensively, but still being captain of a team at this age shows some great leadership skills. Stats-wise, he had an okay season in the WHL with 63 points in 60 games. Nothing crazy, but he did step up his game with 8 points in 6 playoff games and 12 in 7 at the U18. I say step up, but I'm not sure that's the right term here because he brings more than just stats. He's a fast forward checker who has a high level of puck skill and pace. Great hands, great rhythm, always going to get offense going. His floor is high because he can bring a lot to the game. He's a hard worker like you can't find anywhere. There's always something happening when he's on the ice. He's really fun to watch. I mean, keep in mind, it's quite rare, again, for a 17-year-old to be named captain of a CHL team. So there's a reason for it. I would see Coots fit in perfectly within a middle six, maybe even top six. I just don't know if I can say I see him becoming a star, but I can definitely see him becoming an NHLer. Number 12. We started top 12. I love this section here. From 1 to 12, we have some very interesting prospects. At 12, we have Victor Eklund, left winger, 5'11", 170 pounds. He played this year in Allsvenskan. He plays a really intense style, although he's not the biggest on the ice. I have a corgi, really cute, by the way, really not related. But when he plays with other dogs, I think he thinks he's a bigger dog than he actually is. And I get the same feeling with Eklund, playing as if he were 6'3". I saw him in Ottawa at the World Juniors. I liked what I saw of him. Great motor, wouldn't stop. But yeah, obviously, he still needs to gain strength because I'd see him quite often get pushed down. He would step back up quickly every time and keep on going, though. He's annoying. Born October 3rd, so one of the oldest players of the draft. A style similar to Travis Konechny, good at battling in tight spaces to get rebounds. He's good at making his teammates look good, like Antoine Frondel. He's got a good floor. His ceiling will depend on his weight. Number 11, I have Carter. Sorry, that was a really bad bear impression. But you can't not like Carter Bear. Every coach is going to like him. 6 foot tall, 179 pounds. He's always involved, always working. He's super competitive, really great skating, hits a lot around the boards, can shake and intimidate his opponents. He's always giving his 200%, plays safe and smart in the neutral zone and defensively. Good at making plays for his teammates, make passes, retrieve pucks. He can technically play both left wing and center, although his face-off stats aren't that great. Pretty terrible, actually, at 38%. But it's probably the only aspect you're not going to like about this guy. He got injured towards the end of the season, an Achilles tendon laceration that ended the season after 56 games, during which he had 40 goals and 82 points. So really good stats. You saw his team. He played for Everett Silvertips in the WHL. You saw that they missed him a lot in the playoffs after his injury. He was able to come to the combine a few weeks ago and take part in the physical test. So it would seem his injury would not be as serious as anticipated or as it could have been, let's say. I still believe that it will impact his draft rank. I do believe, just like me here, I ranked him 11th out of the top 10. Maybe without this injury and a good playoff push, that would have helped him crack it. Nonetheless, it will not affect his roughing type of play. So Carter Bear, I would see him fit beautifully on a second line left wing slot. And we start our top 10 with Roger McQueen. By far the one that made me debate the most. So to paint you a picture, we started this season and Roger McQueen was ranked 5th on several lists. He's 6'5", 192 pounds, a center with amazing hands. He's just so good. He can also play on the wing. Solid shot, solid passer, great skater for his size, great hockey IQ and puck handling abilities. Basically, an amazing package straight up. His style reminds me a bit of Gabe Vilardi, but a better skater. He starts the year, I think, with 8 goals, 1 assist in 8 games, something like that. But then he injured his back badly. He came back towards the end of the year, finished the season with 20 points in 17 games with Brampton in the OHL. Okay stats. He added 1 goal in 3 games in the playoffs, but he was not the same threat, not as involved as at the beginning of the year. So his rank right now varies from 5 to like 22 on some lists. Because which version of him will a team get? I was at a draft a few weeks ago, a draft before the draft. So, you don't know what rank the players are going to get drafted comes the NHL draft. And I was drafting at number 12. McQueen was still available. And I debated, but then Murtko is still there, so I went for the defenseman. All this to say, I would not want to be an NHL team having to ponder the risk of selecting this guy, especially 1 year after the Blue Jackets selected Caden Lindstrom, who had a very similar injury and missed pretty much a whole year of development, even though, like McQueen, he came back at some point during his injury to play. And don't get me wrong here. I love Lindstrom. I drafted him 3rd overall in 2024 in my league, but would I take the risk with McQueen again? I mean, in the top 10, like where I have McQueen right now, I'm not sure. It depends on teams and their pipeline. Further down the draft, for sure. But again, as I said, I do like to evaluate a player's potential, and McQueen's is really high. He told teams at the combine that he did not feel any more pain in his back. How much of this is true or will remain true once he starts playing again next year, it remains to be seen. Number 9, Radim Murtka, the best right-handed defenseman of the 2025 draft. We got a monster here. 6'6", 218 pounds. Woo! He started the year in Czechia. We saw play quite well at the Link Cup. And then he moved over to North America and played his first game in the WHL with the Seattle Thunderbirds, Braden Coots' team, November 29th. What a smart decision for him. Because from what he had shown in Czechia, he was a reliable defensive defenseman. But then he started racking up points in Seattle. It obviously took him some time to adapt to the North American ice size, but I think it was such a great move for his development. Finished with 35 points in 46 games. He was actually going on a point per game pace for a good stretch. He also just turned 18 on the 9th of June. It's also never really worked out properly, so I think he still got more potential there. He's obviously got a long reach, a bit similar to Zdeno Chara. He plays well defensively, got a good stake. He's not the same level as Aitchison, but he can hit. Covers well, understands the play. In the offensive zone, I love to see him move. He's underrated, I think, on that level. He's got so many amazing attributes, and on top of being right-handed. Some believe Murtka's potential is a top 4. Personally, I don't see his potential nearly as close as the number 1 defenseman in this draft, but I do believe he has top line potential. Number 8. Oh, we have Brady Martin, the farmer. What an interesting player, to say the least. 6 foot tall, 174 pounds. There is no forward in this draft who hits like Martin does. Although it's a key differentiating feature for him, he's so much more than just a wrecking ball. He's super competitive, brings so much energy, never afraid to get his feet in the crease. He's got one speed, and that's 200%, a really good shot that will easily translate to the next level. Really good at forechecking, possess also a really good defensive game. He compares his style to Sam Bennett, Tom Wilson, and Matthew Nice. And if for those of you who might know, I would see him a bit looking like Mike Richards. Even though he got interesting stats this year, he got 72 points in 57 games, 33 goals. He did that with the Greyhounds in the OHL, which wasn't a great team. They lost in the first round of the playoffs, and other than him and fourth-year Marco Mignosa, the team was limited in talent. I'm not sure Martin's a point per game potential player, but one thing's for sure is a nightmare to play against. You, similar to Sam Bennett, we've seen in the playoffs. Let's say. Now, like I mentioned earlier, he comes from a farmer family, and it's been reported that because of the work needed there, and because his parents wouldn't be able to attend the draft, he won't be there as well. I've done some research just for fun, and yes, there's been the COVID year, there's been the lockout, but since the draft has the format it currently has, it's never happened that a player selected in the top 10 not be present at the draft. I'm not saying because of this decision he shouldn't be selected as early as I think he will, nor that that it should in any way affect his rank. Every team loved the guy at the combine because he's a funny guy. Now, working on the farm brings so many elements. It brings, great work ethic, among other things, but he hasn't worked out in the gym to the same extent as other players have. Obviously, working on a farm is physically demanding, don't get me wrong. Where I'm going with this is, I believe once he commits 100% to his hockey career, including the off season, then we might see even bigger progress than we would for other players. If you're curious, what kind of farm, I do have a few friends who might want to know. The Martins have dairy farms, they have beef, a lot of chicken, and they crop a few thousand acres. Fun fact, that was already a fun fact on its own. During COVID, as a project, he even went on and bought his own cows, started raising them, and made a bit of money this way. Number 7, Jake O'Brien. Now, for the next 5 ranks, honestly, they could really well be in a complete different order, and I would understand that. To me, as I mentioned earlier, there is this year a top 2, followed by 5, 6 players. What I meant by that is I have a pack of 5 players, and then Brady Martin, for me, comes right after in his own tier. So it really comes down to preferences. Jake O'Brien at number 7, born June 16th. So he just turned 18 right before the draft. 98 points in 66 games, 66 assists. In fact, that was really hard to say. Tied for 7th in points in the OHL. He led the whole CHL with 41 power play assists, really effective on the power play. He started somewhat slow, but showed consistent improvement. He is the best passer of the draft, without a doubt. Maybe the best vision. There might be one guy that tops him that I'll have in 2 ranks, 3 ranks. He's a smooth skater, really good at finding an opening in the slot. His playmaking is so elite. He's going to create plays. His head is always up, analyzing the play, scanning, trying to catch defensemen off balance and take advantage of it. Very good defensively as well. He played this year in Brantford with some great players. Marek Vanacker was drafted 27 by the Hawks last year. Patrick Thomas, drafted a bit further down in the 4th round 2 years ago by Washington, but ended with a whopping 104 points. And finally, Nick Lardis, who led all players across the country with 71 goals. One element that plays against O'Brien is his weight. He's 6'2", 170 pounds. Personally, that does not bother me at all, especially considering his date of birth. If I compare to a guy who had a similar shape as his last year, I think of Beckett Seneca. Sure, Seneca had a late growth spurt, but really just to show you how much weight these kids can gain. Seneca was listed this time of the year, last year, at 6'3", 178 pounds. 12 months later, he's gained an inch and now weighs 194 pounds. He gained 16 pounds. So, all things considered, sure, Jake O'Brien is not going to play next year. That's a given. But give him a few years to get stronger, improve his pace maybe. With the raw skills, I could definitely see him become a top 6 center. Number 6, Anton Frandell. I got the Swedish here. And Frandell could come out all the way to number 3. I've seen him there on the few list, and I mean, I would be fine with it because I like him a lot. I've even seen him in some debates coming out at number 2 in front of Misa. We will see on Friday. There are players I prefer above him. There's just a few things with him that disappointed me a bit this year. I'm not convinced that he's got a true potential to become a number 1 center. Frandell can play on both wings and play as center. He's got a mature game on both ways. He's got a mature body. He's 6'1", 205 pounds. His biggest strength is his shot. He can shoot really quickly. His skating and IQ are good. He played in the Allsvenskan, which is a professional league in Sweden. I mentioned it a bit earlier with Eklund. Frandell was actually one of the youngest players to ever play regular minutes at 16. This year, he did 25 points in 29 games. For this league, at 17, these stats are record-breaking. All right, 0.86 points per game. This is better than what David Pastrnak and William Nylander did. He really, unfortunately, did not have a good showing at his latest international competition, the U18, which can be explained by different factors, such as, traveling and time zones. But I was just hoping for him to wow me, because he started the year with an injury, was slow to get his production going because of it. There's a few elements of his game that don't excite me as much as others. He was not super constant throughout the year. Sometimes I saw him play physically, winning battles, and other times he was a bit more invisible. He played this year with Victor Eklund, and all year, yes, I was leaning more towards Frandell between the two of them, but Eklund wasn't far. Frandell is much more skilled, but Eklund is maybe more intense. But Frandell played his best this year when he was playing with a guy like Eklund. So I would see him fit perfectly, become a really good second line center. Number 5, Caleb Desnoyers. When I saw Desnoyers at the Linka Gretzky in August, I asked myself, why is this guy not ranked in the top 5 already? It's not that he dominated the tournament in terms of stats. I mean, he still finished with 5 points in 5 games, but he was not by any means the most productive players of the tournament. But he was involved in every facet of the game. He played in power play, in PK. He was in your face, winning battles, playing physical. He's 6'2", 172 pounds, so he still has room for growth. He's a player that you see contributing on the ice. He's got flashes of a high energy power forward, although more pace would be required. Plays a really responsible 200-foot game, great competitiveness, great work ethic. He's got charisma. He's confident without being arrogant. He played this year with the Moncton Wildcats in the Q, where he ended up with 84 points in 56 games. He was their best player, followed by a playoff journey that brought him to the Memorial Cup. He finished the playoffs with 30 points in 19 games and won the Guy Lafleur Trophy for MVP of the playoffs in Quebec. The last to do that, to win the Guy Lafleur Trophy on a draft year for the player, were Jonathan Drouin in 2013, Jonathan Huberdeau in 2011, and Sidney Crosby in 2005. Just to show you how big of a deal it is. In my opinion, I feel Desnoyers might actually be the only prospect from the 2025 draft, let's say, sure thing to play center in the NHL. He doesn't have the same elite offensive skills as some other players in front of him, but he's a really complete hockey player. Number 4, James Higgins. We started the year with Higgins ranked number 1 because of how dominant he was the previous year, and especially at the U18, where he got 22 points in 7 games. Wow. A new high that broke the record previously held by Kucherov in 2011. So obviously, expectations were through the roof after this. And he wasn't bad this year, but he did not meet the hype. Does that mean that he should not deserve to be drafted in the top 6 prospects? Absolutely not. Let's say top 8, to be fair. He got 37 points in 37 games with Boston College in the NCAA, playing on the line with Gabe Perreault on the left and either Teddy Stiga or Ryan Leonard on the right. So some great prospects. As a comparison in terms of his stats, it's lower than several high-end players that came out of the NCAA in recent years. Heichel, Celebrini, Fantilli, Kyle Connor, Will Smith, and Logan Cooley. It actually makes me think of Cooley. 9 points in 7 games at the World Juniors, a solid performance, the most out of draft-eligible players, ending the tournament with an average of 20 minutes, 20 seconds, showing significant trust from his coaches. He's a highly creative, fast-paced, playmaking center, can anticipate pressure, excellent agility, allowing him to create plays in tight areas, a strong transport player. His top speed is not elite, but still solid, but his acceleration makes him dangerous in transition. I think Higgins' physical play is underrated. Consistently shows up in major tournaments, but again, as I said, he was not dominant at the NCAA level. Another aspect he will need to improve is at the faceoff. He's responsible defensively, yet I wonder if at the next level he wouldn't be better on the wing. Not necessarily, but time will tell. If he returns to the player we thought he could become last year, getting him at anything outside the top 2 could be a steal. Number 3, Porter Marton. I debated a lot here between Higgins and Marton. They're very different. I had the chance to see Porter Marton in Brampton in January. I did an interview with him actually after his game. It's available on episode 28 of StreetScout, March 27, if you'd like to listen to it. I was a big fan of his, and I came out of the interview a bit disappointed. Not to say that he's not a great kid. He just gave me that impression that he was getting interviewed 5 times a week, which, probably does happen. And, granted, chances are he had never heard of StreetScout, which clearly he should have, like everyone. I'm just joking. Before Christmas, there was still a debate as to who should be selected first overall, and Martin was among those players. The first thing that popped to my eyes when I went to see him was how big he was. He's a right winger, 6'3", 208 pounds. But then I kept wanting him to go into his second speed, which wouldn't come. He's not a fast skater, and his pace and intensity sometimes lack. That is a valid concern. I understand some people who have him further down their list because of that aspect, but he compensates with a ton. A style similar to Mikko Rantanen or Blake Wheeler, the best vision of the draft, a tremendous playmaker with great hands, amazing passer. He can be physical, not necessarily the same style as Brady Martin, but does have an ability to make punishing hits and play with an edge. He will go in front of the goal. He's strong in battles along the boards. After Misa, probably the forward with the highest overall ceiling. In terms of stats, he had 98 points in 57 games, so 1.7 points per game, just to give you an idea. Then in the playoffs, he had 4 goals, 10 points in 6 games. But on top of it, he also represented Canada both at the World Juniors and the World Cup. He mostly played a support role in both tournaments, obviously being younger than his teammates, but already to be present and be selected shows how he can contribute to a team. After Misa, he's the best offensive forward, let's say, between the blue line and the net. This being said, he's not the most involved defensively. At the same time, he's a winger in comparison to a few centers I described earlier, so it's not as crucial, at least. So paired with a good, fast center, if he can improve his rhythm, I do see him becoming a first-line right winger, contributing not only on the score sheet, but in different aspects of the game. Ooh. And finally, we get to our top 2. I don't think much could surprise me in this draft, but one thing that could would be to not have Michael Misa and Matthew Schaefer called 1 and 2. For me, I have Schaefer ahead of him, although Misa is an amazing player. And if a team drafts him first, I'm not mad. That's my opinion. We're looking at a guy who had 134 points in 65 games, 62 goals. Think about it. In the OHL for Saginaw, 62 goals and a pace of 2.0 points per game. That's insane. There's a reason why he was granted exceptional status and was able to start in the OHL a year earlier. No player has reached these stats in the OHL since 2007. Patrick Kane had back then 145 points, and John Tavares had 134. Same number as Misa, but 3 more games played. Kane, this was his draft year, but listen to this. Tavares only got drafted in 2009, so 2 years later. That's nuts. And as we all know, both players got drafted first overall. Misa came back this year center. He played last season on the left wing, and I think that's perfect for him. He's an elite skater, shooter, passer, excels at handling, got a great hockey sense, great details, so smart. He's the best overall forward to come out of the OHL in a very long time. I see him having the same immediate impact in the NHL as Celebrini did last season. And finally, number 1, Matthew Schaefer. Left-handed defenseman, 6'2", 185 pounds. The youngest player of the 2025 draft. That's also very important to note. If he was born 10 days later, we would be wondering what rank he would come out at after McKenna in 2026. On the personal level, he does speak a bit of French, FYI, and his past year has really not been easy, injury aside. He basically lost two mums in 3 months. First, in December 2023, his boarding house mom passed away from suicide after being struck by a train. Then in February 2024, his biological mom passed away after a 2-year breast cancer battle. Remarkably, he returned to play only 2 weeks later, showing incredible resilience. And finally, in December last year, during the World Juniors, his mentor and owner of the Erie Oilers died of a sudden heart attack. This happening right before he hit that post with his collarbone and ended the season. So needless to say, he had a very difficult year outside the ice and on the ice, where he was only able to play 17 regular season games. But today, he's a really mature young man after living through all of this. Why do I have him in front of Misa after all I said about the forward? Schaefer is labeled right now as a number one defenseman in the team. That does not happen as often as you may think in a draft year. Last year was an amazing draft for defensemen, for top defensemen. I had 6 in my top 13. That's a lot. Levshunov, Buyum, Dickinson, Yakimchuk, Parekh, and Silayev. But none of them, they all had this top pair potential, but not necessarily a sure shot number one. Of course, nothing is ever sure shot for the draft. If we look back in 2023, that's the Reinbacher year, followed by Simashev and Tom Willander. I personally had Gulyayev and Sandin Pelika above these guys, but even Reinbacher was not identified as a top pairing defenseman, at least not throughout the whole year. 2022, Nemec and Yurichek, same thing. I think you need to go all the way back to Rasmus Dahlin to find a defenseman drafted with true hopes that he'd become a franchise D. No, Matthew Schaefer did not play a lot this year. He had 22 points in 17 games in the OHL and 2 points in 2 games at the World Juniors before his injury. But he's just overall so good. Exactly what you want of a defenseman in 2025. In Schaefer, you get the best skater in the draft of all the skaters. Good size, fantastic vision, good defensively as well. He compares himself to Miro Iskanen, to give you an idea. Fun fact, he wears number 48 because his brother once met Daniel Briere at a tournament in Buffalo. He was very nice, super respectful, was taking time with the kids, talked to everyone, so his brother felt inspired. So since then, he started to wear 48, so Matthew decided to do the same. I honestly don't see a world where Matthew Schaefer's floor is anything below a second pairing offensive defenseman. And as a ceiling, a top 5 defenseman in the whole league who could without a doubt one day win the Norris. So here it is, my 2025 NHL Draft Top 32. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening. Very appreciated. There's a lot of viewings and research that come into play. Please feel free to follow us on Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. As I said, we're also on Patreon, patreon.com/StreetScout for $7 a month. All the fundings go directly into the platform that we use for the scouting that we pay every year. This was Fred from StreetScout, who wish you a great 2025 NHL draft.